Good evening to my fellow Snyder fans. Tonight I'd like to do this video to remind you all on why we want the Snyderverse restored and why we want it done in live action and not have it all go to waste by being left scrapped and reconverted into worthless comics, which doesn't change a thing, because really there are lots of characters and lots of stories that need to be brought out from the comics and onto the big screen of live action films, which some people just say movies, of course. And look at here, Darkseid, Zack Snyder's crown jewel. Yeah, the very reason why we do not want the Zack's vision going to waste because of a bunch of meddling from the executives over at Warner Brothers. Now, so much has been going on about Warner Brothers either getting sold or looking to buy out other things or sell stuff. But really, Zaslav is just so cruel. And I do not want him getting away with what he did in 2022. Darkseid is the crown jewel of Zack's universe and the Thanos of DC Comics. He's a god from the planet called Apocalypse, as well as its ruler. And as you can see on the back is how epic he was. Yeah, that was seen from Zack's cut of Justice League. Now, I'm not even sure. It's only a matter of time until these corporate hacks have their lawyers go in to start changing every law and every court ruling. And sure enough, I also even heard that Zack's got his movie being released in black and white into IMAX soon, which would be cool if I knew the release dates. I would go there with Josh. Now, as for Darkseid, it'd be cool to see him go head to head with the Justice League in a live action movie. Zack has given us a great franchise since Man of Steel. And I really am triggered by some people posting that they would just throw it all away by turning all the scrap projects comics, which is not enough. We need to punish these assholes for their interference, not give in to them over how much power they have. As for Zaslav, I can't trust that he'll be that guy. He's sure to flip-flop and wander off into doing more things than usual. But because really, so much messaging is getting out of hand online and with social media. And believe me, when we got this full cut of Zack's universe, it was really epic. And it would have been even more epic from the first Avengers film had it not been for BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street sending their goons into the studio to cause such problems. Man, we have really got so far next month from now, I'll be looking forward to watching this movie again on my Xbox, and I'll be ready to unbox Darkseid. And we ought to congratulate Zack for bringing him into live action officially for the first time, as we should be thanking Goyer for bringing Brainiac onto the silver screen for the first time in live action on a television series called Krypton. And speaking of Brainiac, he's the other reason why we cannot just give up on helping Zack reactivate his universe in a live action format. Especially when money talks and when you've got all this corporate mess arounds going on everywhere at the studios and the private sector in Manhattan and Malvern, Pennsylvania, as well as Boston, Massachusetts. I do not like having what we want being ripped away from us, especially when it's long overdue. Brainiac is long overdue for an appearance in a live-action Superman movie for more than 40 years now, and I am not going to tolerate the idea of having Pam Abdi, Mike DeLuca, and Chris McGuire's pitch for Man of Steel 2 get wasted as a scrap-away comic adapt. Well, that's not enough. Aaron Fisher and everyone else, get it through your skulls. We do not want the studio to keep ripping us off. We've been ripped off for 40 years ever since Superman 3, where they selfishly refused to use Brainiac in that movie to fight Christopher Reeve's character, and gave us garbage because they were too arrogant, lazy, impatient, and so uncivilized and greedy. I mean, you even seen what they did to Joss Whedon's Justice League movie before it was released? They forced him to rush it and not complete the whole thing just to get bonuses. And really, do you really want to give up easy over what's going to happen over the corporate sector? Do not be a bunch of wussies, guys. We've been scammed way too long. And to me, I hate being irritated and having being ripped off by the studios on what they do with movies based on our favorite IPs and what they do to our favorite characters themselves. Man, Warner Brothers should not even be owning the rights to DC. And something needs to be done about Zaslav and the Warner Brothers if he doesn't get the company to Universal soon, before Disney's allies somehow find a way to get their hands on the properties, which we do not want them doing so. We need to make our movement and push to restore the Snyderverse more public. So do not just waste time hashtagging, because the internet's becoming more unpredictable, especially on social media. And not to mention that Zack left because his daughter died due to all the death threats that the family's been receiving from these goddamn evil Twitter trolls who were acting in some kind of conspiracy to not give a crap about creativity at all. I mean, besides Brainiac, you've also got Silver Banshee, who I too like to see brought to life on the big screen as well. As Cyborg Superman, Hank Henshaw, who would make an excellent doppelganger villain for Superman to fight rather than something made up that's not from the comics. Yeah, the problem with these big places, they're too, you know just how evil the corporate culture really is. And really, we do not want Disney and Nike getting their hands on the DC brand. Because really, laws don't last long forever. And I'm really angry. And so should everyone else. In fact, I know everyone else is angry just like I am. And really, after seeing Krypton, we all deserve a live-action movie of Superman going head-to-head with Brainiac, as well as seeing him and Supergirl teaming up together for the first official time. Clearly, Gunn's movies are not going to give us what we want. They're all garbage because of the because of the executives and their shareholders. Also, if you can see all these spotted cities that Brainiac's collected, I understand they look weird and can be very complicated to adapt in a live-action movie, but Krypton, the television series executive produced by David Goyer, has become the first step to breaking all this impasse that the evil bastards in the corporate culture created back in the early 80s around President Reagan's first 2 years in office. Yeah, and I don't want either character being DEI'd, race swap, gender swap, or any irritating crap. Because really, I do not like having potential opportunities being wasted by a bunch of greedy psychos. We've really got to get all this big money out of our government, mainly defunded all this money that is driving them out of control. And people need to keep pushing forward for that. There are lots of characters in the DC lore that are long overdue for live action appearances. Even those from Green Lantern that Warner Brothers continues to lag away from doing because of their embarrassment with with Ryan Reynolds from the 2011 film. Give me a break. Corporate culture is evil. And believe me, DC never had the same independence Marvel did, all because Warner Brothers is too centralized and too strict with its policies. So if Zaslav does not have Warner Brothers sold to Universal right away, or even to Netflix, he needs to be dealt with seriously. And believe me, my fellow Snyder fans, we do not want to be left completely hollowed and ripped off. We've had it. James Gunn's Superman legacy has nothing to offer but recycled trash that we keep getting from the studio. And the reason for that is because they were too lazy, impatient, and greedy and reckless. Rushing things. Not thinking ahead before doing screenplays. In fact, why do they need to keep doing multiple script rewrites when they should just stick to what they got and avoid international politics or bringing it up? Zack had the right thing, and I don't want him throwing it all away because of how the corporate culture thinks. We do need to keep pushing for a restoration of the Snyderverse. We must keep fighting. Fight to get Man of Steel 2 with every character, villain, and storyline long overdue, ready right away. We do not want to wait longer than 50 years for Brainiac's live-action debate. But we do need to be careful of what is to come from these corporate maniacs who are so totalitarian with everything, as well as our own government, which they control. And we gotta be ready for whatever other hazardous pandemic lies ahead. Because we mustn't give up. We want live action DCEU revival. And if Cavill doesn't come back as Superman, we want Wes Bentley to take over for him to make sure the character on who we recognize him as from the comics is protected from DEI. And we want Brainiac to look just like this as well. Unbastardized. And we want a continuation. And we're also going to want Ben Affleck's Batman vs. Deathstroke movie made, along with Black Adam 2, Wonder Woman 3, Justice League 2 and 3, and possibly Black Adam vs. Superman. And maybe a Green Lantern live-action movie starring a beautiful Latina actress as Jessica Cruz, and a Flash sequel where Flash goes head-to-head with Reverse Flash, aka Professor Zoom. That will be all we need to complete Zack's vision. So keep on fighting, Snyder fans. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Hashtag make Man of Steel 2 in live action with Brainiac. Hashtag bring back Henry Cavill and Sasha Calle. Hashtag Batfleck. Hashtag Batman vs. Deathstroke. Hashtag Black Adam 2. Hashtag Wonder Woman 3. Hashtag Justice League 2 and 3. Hashtag make Justice League 2 and 3. Hashtag make Black Adam 2. Hashtag make Batman vs. Deathstroke. In Zack Snyder we trust. Be sure to go and watch his new movie, Rebel Moon Scargiver, coming out this April. And do keep tab on what more of this mixed messaging online has to offer about Warner Brothers, whether it will be sold or we'll just go and buy some other things over Zaslav's grip on power. But either way, we are to fight back against all the evil that has been destroying this brand for years. And we can't do what we can. Do not give in to it. And if Zack does get the opportunity to finally reactivate his vision and not get held back by any more gatekeepers or meddlers, he will need a blank check he's going to need a blank check to make Man of Steel 2 featuring these two characters, along with Silver Banshee and Supergirl, including others like Cyborg, Superman, and Metallo to life, onto the big screen with his own tone. Even if he has to refrain from including elements of real-world human trafficking and not make it feature anything political that would threaten or make the elites of our country uncomfortable. He just needs to focus on keeping away from the more sensitive stuff that goes on in real life and stick to what's agreeable. Make Man of Steel 2 a live action. Heck, and if Man of Steel 2 live action is the last movie we would get out of him, and that his two Justice League movies that are not yet developed would have to be helmed by someone else, I'm fine with it. As long as he's able to deliver us what we are owed, in a live action movie. Superman versus Brainiac. Please, everybody, hear me out. Do not give in to those telling us to move on or to let it go. We are tired of being ripped off by these assholes in the corporate world. They owe us big time. And looking to help from our government would be the last thing we'd do in order to help Zack get the blank check he needs to make to bring these characters from these comics, long overdue for live action debut, to life in a live action movie. So keep it up. Keep on fighting, my fellow Snyder fans. And good night. Oh yeah, I have another thing I also gotta mention that today, as we've gotten word from Gunn, that a comedian that was brought up is set to be cast as Otis, who is known to be a henchman to Lex Luthor's from the 1978 movie. That means one thing. Superman Legacy is a fucking waste of time, remake, and rip-off of the original. Which is why we are to boycott this piece of garbage that they're ripping us off with. Zaslav is an asshole. He definitely needs to be punished for being a jerk. He and his shareholders both need to be held accountable. Also, if they try anything, if anything happens to Zack, Henry, Ben Affleck, Sasha Kaya, or even Ray Porter, Ray Fisher, and to the work they've started with since 2013, things are really going to get personal. But also, we are not to give up over what sneaky trick that Gunn and that mafia of a studio in Burbank have up their sleeves with these projects such as Peacemaker Season 2 with Batmite. We are not to let that discourage us from reviving his vision, especially since Patty Jenkins commented on Joss Whedon's Justice League movie not being canon to Zack Snyder's DCEU. In fact, that's a good argument we need to take into consideration to justify restoring the Snyderverse. Starting with Man of Steel 2, with Brainiac for the first time in a live-action film. We want a live-action Superman and Supergirl team-up against Brainiac movie, with those three characters, along with others like Silver, Banshee, and Metallo in the mix. And we want it to be canon to where we left off on Dawn of Justice and Man of Steel. The aftermaths in both these movies make the DCEU way too grand a universe to waste and forsaken, all because of this regime change over these stupid changing of executives that keep meddling. That they along with their shareholders are a serious problem. Especially the more assets they have, the more hubris they've got, clogging up their sense of moral understanding. I am definitely boycotting Superman Legacy because I will not waste my money on what's about to be a complete remake of the 1978 film, which is why if we are to restore the Snyderverse and have it Man of Steel 2, Batman vs. Deathstroke, including Justice League 2 and 3, done as live-action films, we must also forsaken and put behind and move on from Richard Donner's legacy. Ever since the corporate culture started causing trouble on President Reagan's first 2 years in office, rejecting Brainiac and ripping us off with garbage, it's become a habit, not just with the studio, but with other studios doing the same shit. And I am sick of it. We need to fight back against these fuckers who are ripping us off, overcome whatever tricks they got, and overcome what lies ahead, and not end up engaging Russia or China in nuclear war. We do not want an all-out World War III or a nuclear war. We want to restore the Snyderverse. We want Man of Steel 2. We want Bam Abdi and Mike DeLuca's pitch with Superman and Supergirl teaming up against Brainiac for the first time in a live-action film that has long been withheld from us for years. We want to see Ben Affleck's Batman take on Joe Melangelo's Deathstroke in live action. We also like to see Black Adam 2, Wonder Woman 3, Justice League 2 and 3, and Black Adam vs. Superman, including a Green Lantern movie starring Jessica Cruz in live action, along with a Flash sequel with Flash going head-to-head with Professor Zoom in live action. That's what we need to get over to Netflix, and we are not to let WB or Gunn's universe mess things up, and we don't want these shareholders, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, getting in our way again. They've caused a lot of trouble already ever since Batman vs. Superman came out in theaters. And I, for one, am many of these comic book movie fans who have had it with these studios under corporate management ripping us off, subverting expectations out of fucking hubris and ego. Disgusting ego. It must end. So, keep on fighting, my friends. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Hashtag make Man of Steel 2 in live action with Brainiac. Hashtag bring back Henry Cavill and Sasha Calle. Hashtag bring back Ben Affleck and Joe Melangelo. Hashtag make Batman vs. Deathstroke in live action. Hashtag make Black Adam 2. Hashtag make Wonder Woman 3. Hashtag make Justice League 2 and 3. And hashtag make Black Adam vs. Superman. Along with hashtag make Green Lantern Jessica Cruz live action. And hashtag make Flash vs. Professor Zoom live action. Keep on fighting, my fellow Snyder bros. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. And sell the Snyderverse to Netflix. One more thing before I conclude this message on my video. We've really got to, after seeing the news from today, we've really got to move on from Richard Donner. Due to that incident that occurred on Reagan's first 2 to 3 years in office, where the studio executives ruined Superman 3 by ripping us off with garbage, and rather than giving us Brainiac when they should have done as the villain for the Christopher Reeve's third movie, it's become a frickin' habit that has been spreading all across the movie industry today. We cannot let any more laws or court rulings protecting the foundations of our culture from. We cannot allow these court rulings that are serving as protective foundations of our culture against any autocratic butchering and tampering get overturned by Iger or his allies. We can't let Disney and Marvel merge together. Not until we see a proper completion of a DC cinematic universe, especially the DCEU. I don't care about what crest symbol Gunn is using for David Corenswet's Superman in next year's 1978 remake. All I care about is getting Man of Steel 2 revived with the very same pitch that was presented by Pam Abdi, Mike DeLuca, and Chris McGuire. We all want to see a live-action Superman vs. Brainiac film that has the two characters along with Supergirl Silver Benchy Metallo in it, along with Batman vs. Deathstroke, Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern movie live action, Flash vs. Professor Zoom live action, Wonder Woman 3, Black Adam 2, Black Adam vs. Superman, and Superman and Justice League 2 and 3, and Black Adam vs. Superman. We cannot give up hope. We do need to get those projects over to Netflix to be made in live action films. And we've got to start overcoming all these fucking gatekeeper gridlocks and censorships that keep developing and showing up all over the place. Even if it means Snyder would have to even if it means giving Zack a blank check to allow him to deliver us what we want to see on the big screens in live action for the first time with the very same tone that we know him for in Man of Steel, and even if it means going with some of what we've gotten so far. Well, no. Even if it means letting Sasha Calle come back as the Latina Supergirl, joining up with Cavill or Wes Bentley as Superman to take on Brainiac and Silver Benchy and Metallo. We want to see those characters in live action movies, not have them denied constantly over and over again. So we have to move on from Richard Donner and move and get back to the Snyder and get the Snyderverse restored, and have Man of Steel 2 done in live action with Superman, Brainiac, Supergirl, Silver Banshee, and Metallo included in the movie as key characters. We also we want to see Lex Luthor assemble his Legion of Doom afterwards in films like Green Lantern, Jessica Cruz, Flash vs. Professor Zoom, Batman v Deathstroke, Wonder Woman 3, and Black Adam 2, just in time before Justice League 2 and 3. And maybe a fourth one, which would serving as the grand finale of his vision. His movies are way too pure and epic to be forgotten. They need to be restored. And it's important that we clear out all the gridlocks, all the sensitivity, censorship, garbage that's in the way, including DEI, EST, and put a stop to BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street's meddling in the movie industry. Even if we lose a lot along the way, as well as promising that they will not be used against our own government or used as part of some conspiracy that the people on the right say that Hollywood is, and not get involved and not have it be filmed in certain locations where so much tension is going down. We must overcome every trick, every obstacle, and every unexpected thing as possible to reach our goal. Warner Brothers has been ripping us off for years, and it has to end soon. So keep on fighting, my fellow Snyder fans. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Hashtag make Man of Steel 2 in live action with Brainiac. Hashtag bring back Henry Cavill's Sasha Kai. Hashtag make Batman vs. Deathstroke. Hashtag make Batman vs. Deathstroke in live action. Hashtag make Black Adam 2 in live action. Hashtag make Wonder Woman 3 in live action. Hashtag make Justice League 2 and 3 in live action. Hashtag make Jessica Cruz Green Lantern movie. Hashtag make Flash vs. Professor Zoom live action movie. Hashtag and make Black Adam vs. Superman movie. Hashtag. Thank you. Good night.